Thank you, Helen, and to the staff of Pyramid. It's wonderful to work with all of you and the opportunity to exhibit in the vault. I also like to thank the Washingtonian for opening their offices, their archives, so we could start the process of wrapping Diane's words. And to Laura Howard's here, and Patrick in your archival office was very helpful to me. And I would like to thank two people who are my biggest rappers. Are Jackie and Bobby here? Are they?
We're rapping.
Oh. Everybody keeps asking me how many people rapped. Well, a lot of women rapped, and we probably had 30 plus people rapping. But I had two fanatics who rapped as much as I did. And I was so appreciated because Diane's article, like Black and White in Washington, I don't know how many clips, Jackie.
It was long.
And Bobby rapped the longest strand. I think it was 30 feet or something. Because I give them in bags, and then I kept pulling it out, and it didn't end. So I have, for my rappers, I just wanted to give a scarf so you can wrap around your Perfect match. Okay. I would also like, Pat Bird is here selling the print, and she was also very helpful with the installation, so I wanted to, she's probably working right now. And Cheryl Silver helped with the press release, so thank you to Cheryl. I just wanted to talk briefly about the installation and the pieces, because every piece has a meaning, and so I'm just going to break it apart in pieces. So when you first come into the vault, you approach it and you see the sort of the gold papers. That was a gift from my mother 23 years ago, just before I got married, and she had just gone to China, and she gave me this paper. So I've probably had 5 different studios, and I carried this pack of paper, and I never used it, and I started to use it, wrapping it at the bottom of each clip to designate the month and the year, so it can be kept archivally in sequence as much as I could. And it also has a symbolic reason, is in China they would use that paper to, when they bury the dead, they would include that with the bodies. So it has spiritual and personal significance. The idea of wrapping came from a trip to China about 5 years ago with my daughter, and the farmers north of Beijing wrapped magazine articles around paper clips, and they'd hang them in their doors and windows to keep the bugs out. And I just kept these paper clips in my purse, thinking, I know there's a project here. They're special, they're humble, they're intriguing, they're beautiful. And when Diane was sick, I thought, words, Diane, paper clips, magazines, and I talked to her about it, and she nodded, and I was on my way. I had approval. So that was nice beginning of the project. And then the way it's installed is the 3 arcs. That's from a wedding basket, an African wedding basket, and the 3. When you marry, the circle breaks but becomes stronger, so that's the symbol of family, which I thought was very appropriate. Those are my elements. And Lisa Hill is the digital artist, and she's going to explain her piece.
As we were wrapping in the studio, words would surface, resurface, and go away. And what Francie and I started to do was to collect these words that would often provide a connection to Diane. And these words were written with a certain meaning in context of a story. But as they would wrap, people would come up with their own elucidations of what it meant to them and their connection to Diane. So we collected those words and we bring them in on the digital piece. They fade in, they fade out, and they make connections, sometimes in context and sometimes not. And we're still collecting words. So please, if as you've viewed the exhibit, when you come out, we have a list on the shelf, and please, tell us your words, and we'll continue to add to this project. And Joan, I'll let you explain your.
Well, some of you know that Francie and I walk every morning at 6, and Diane used to walk with us. And often on that walk, we would talk about pretty mundane things, like how hard it was to get our kids to do their homework or get their things in time. But often we talked about some pretty profound things too. Someone becoming pregnant or someone getting sick. And I remember Diane running down the street to meet us one day to tell us about the grant, the Alicia Patterson grant. She was so excited about it. We were lucky enough to have lots of those little moments with her. One of the greatest ironies of her sickness was that she lost a lot of her facility for words. And it was a very, very difficult part of the illness. So Francie and I always thought that there needed to be music with the piece as a companion to the piece. And Diane's words really are the melody. Her words are melody after melody. And when we strung the first strands, we realized what an incredible sound the paper clips made themselves. It was Lisa's idea, actually, to compose a piece based on the paper clips. And as soon as we thought about that, I thought about Luis. And he spent a day at the studio playing the paper clips. He recorded them and then took them back to his studio after talking to Francie and I about Diane, and created a piece basically of Asian and African instruments, not even knowing, I don't think at the time, that the inspiration for the art came from China. And often that's how things went during the year, that inspiration came from the words themselves, came from wrapping the clips, and so that's how the music was interwoven with the piece.